Jimmy spent half of his weekly allowance on clothes. To earn more money, his parents let him clean the windows in the house for $4. What is his weekly allowance if he ended up with $13? So I underlined important information, and I want to identify my variable by figuring out what the question is asking for. So we're trying to figure out what the weekly allowance of Jimmy is. So W would make sense because that's going to stand for my weekly allowance. Now it says that he spent half on clothes. So I know that his weekly allowance is however much. He basically divides that by 2 or takes half of that. That's what he does. That's what goes to clothes. Now his parents give him extra that will be added on in addition to his weekly allowance of $4. Extra work for washing those windows. So he had his allowance and then he has extra income. And of course, you know that he ends up with $13 left over. So we want to work backwards to figure out what his weekly allowance started with. So this is just a two-step equation. I want to save my variable term for the very end. I don't want to touch that just yet. So sometimes I'll put a box around it, keep it safe, so I don't do anything with it just yet. And I move over that constant of positive 4. It's on the same side as the variable, so I want to cancel it out and make it equal 0 by minusing 4 and doing the opposite operation. That's really going to equal 0. And whatever you do to one side, you need to do to the other. So 13 minus 4, that's going to bring me to 9. At this point, I'm going to bring down my W over 2. And what this is really saying is some number that we don't know yet, cut in half or divided by 2, will equal 9. So in order to figure out what that is, you need to kind of work backwards and do the opposite of division. You need to multiply by 2. They are going to cancel out. That's really the numerator on the left, and this is the denominator. They will cancel out and equal 1, leaving it just as W. Whatever you do to one side, you need to do the other. So I'm going to take 9 times 2, and that's going to give me 18. What that means is his weekly allowance was $18 to start off with.